My name is Derek Smith. I've been working at the center for 23 years. My title is academic counselor, but I've kind of changed that around and improvised, and now I have it set up as a counselor slash instructor slash community relations. And for the counselor, I would say that because I don't only do academic counseling, I probably do more personal counseling with students than anything. An instructor, I've been teaching for the last 22 years. So that's what, about 40 something semesters. And also community relations, I'm always the person that if anything dealing with collaboration with anybody in the community is usually coming through me, at least 99.9% of the time. Yeah, it's been like that ever since I've been here. And I went to school here as a student in 1972, and it was a problem then, and it's a problem now. I think when you have a student population of African Americans slash Africans of over 17%, and then you have faculty, black faculty, probably at about close to 1 or 2%. I think it's a disgrace and it's a shame that you can't find enough teachers. You're not even involved in trying to find a teacher that can come from a different background, that we would go with the traditional middle class white philosophies at this date and time, especially when I was in school, it was like 700 African Americans. Now it's close to over 3,000. So we needed to have changed through the years with the change in population, but in areas like DeKalb, that's not going to happen. And then we look at the school district, you still have 90% of the teachers at the school district in this town are white, but the school population, student population, is 49% students of color. So it's the problems we usually have here are usually in the community too. That's what I'm trying to say. Absolutely. I think if you have it predominantly white, if you're trying to talk about black culture, black history, people need to know, because normally, like Northern Illinois University, which is like most predominantly white institutions, you can go here 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, get a letter of completion, which is your degree, and never been in a class that portrayed you as something positive other than a slave. And for a college level student to graduate and never have anything positive to say about himself, it's a shame. And we all know that the predominantly white institutions, the curriculum is basically middle class white. So where would you get knowledge of yourself in a positive manner that make you strong enough and build your self-confidence and your self-esteem up enough where you can feel like you can get out in the real world and compete with anybody and everybody when you don't even know who you are, what power you have, and if you're trying to be like somebody else, that won't happen. And what happens in that case, you end up having low self-esteem because you can't be white, and whites can't be black. So that's why it's important that all of our cultures are accepted equally, and then we could make it a better place to live, because then everybody would know everybody and they'd know them in a good way, and not just that we were slaves or either we're thugs or whatever the stereotypes is. And I ask students all the time, give me a positive stereotypes about African Americans. And they can't find it. I said, give me one about whites. They're smart, they got money. What about Asians? They're smart. What about Latinos? And Latinos, they work real hard. What about blacks? And everybody just come to a halt, and they can't think of one positive. Most of them will say sports. We're good at sports. Well, hell, would you consider that a good, something good that you want to talk about?
You have here when you went here?
One. And then I had another one later, but it was like 2 when I left. I came in 72, I left in 78. And so during that time, one of my teachers was African American history teacher, which was good that we did have a black person in charge. And the other one was an English class that I had a black teacher. But for the most part, I didn't have any other black teachers.
Did that experience kind of influence your decision to become a teacher at NIU?
At that time, I was thinking, I was trying to be a physical education teacher in the high schools. And so I wasn't even thinking that I could compete or be helpful to any students on the college level. I didn't have that confidence in myself. And then not seeing any other teachers in my sociology, mythologies, science class, anything like that, I started having a perception that these were the only places that they hired African Americans as teachers, as instructors or professors, and that was in the area of African American studies, and that anything around that, it wasn't happening because I didn't see any black teachers in any other major, any other class that I had. And so I had a real negative opinion about the faculty and staff here at Northern Illinois University when I was a student. And we had just gotten Black Studies in 1970, 71, and that was because they locked the president up in his office and demanded it. And so it wasn't like it was given to us. We had to just about take it as something that should have been just already there on the books as far as a curriculum, Black Studies, because you're trying to look out for everybody, and you're trying to teach your white students as well as your Latino and your Asian students about each other's culture. So we'd be more of a toss salad than a one big cooking pot where you put everything in and you get one thing out of it. But when you have a toss salad, lettuce is lettuce, tomatoes is tomatoes, and everybody had their own. They're just as equal as the next in the salad. And so that's the way America should be. But because of the way things are, this is the way they are, especially at NIU, which has a history of not having inclusion from people from underrepresented groups.
How did that affect?
Yeah, because for the most part, especially if they were white, because that's what all I had was white teachers. I was real comfortable with them. And I think I had one Indian teacher, and it wasn't a problem at all. It was even kind of welcoming because they weren't white. And so you get a change of scenery, and it's also a change of people's ideology and philosophies, which I feel go a long way because I know as a student, if it was something going on among black people here in America, I was always the one that spoke for the whole nation. It's like, Derek, how do you feel about that situation? How do black people feel about that? And not being a person that had enough knowledge of self. I had knowledge of self, but I didn't have enough where I feel confident to talk to a classroom where I was the only black student in the classroom. So I shied away from that a lot, and I didn't really know how to articulate that answer where I wouldn't come off as being ignorant or not knowing, the American way, or being inconsiderate. So a lot of times I just kind of dodged around those questions and gave them answers that were safe. And it wasn't until, years later when I really got into Black Studies that I got the confidence that I could. I welcomed the opportunity in grad school to sit in there and represent the whole black nation because I had more knowledge then and I could speak with truth and facts, and that's all I ever wanted was the truth. And I don't think that's right because the norm, obviously in America, is that racism might exist, but it only exists in a small way. For instance, they say black folks are unemployed. We had a high unemployment because we don't want to work. We was lazy. Kind of bullshit. You know, you work 400 years free. Now all of a sudden you lazy. And so if you want to talk about who lazy, who had you out there working 400 years free and didn't pay you? So it's a whole lot of stereotypical things that's said. And I tell students, I say the most important thing that you have to do is listen to words. Because it's a play on words, especially when you're dealing with racism, that you have to really be accountable for. I have students that tell me they never encountered racism and they're 18, 19-year-old African American. I said, that's impossible. And they said, well, I haven't. And I bring up the situation of with financial aid. Did you fill out an application for financial aid and said, do you have a drug conviction, yes or no? And they said, yes. I said, you don't see that as being racist? No, because they're asking everybody. I said, well, when 80% of the people convicted of drugs are black, and they only commit the same amount of crime that everybody else could commit, it's like 40%, and whites is like 40, and Latinos are in there. But we do 80% of the time. So if you have a law like that, you automatically is targeting black folks. And so that's racist. And they can't understand. I said, they don't say being a pedophile, you can still get financial aid, because who's the dominant persons in pedophile cases? I said, all you have to do is register at the university. If you stand in the dorms, register with the dorms and go to financial aid and pick up your refund check. But if you have a drug conviction, you can't do that. You have to find another way of getting the education, which is now almost you have to have to get a decent job. And so that takes people out of the situation where they can get a decent job. And they're stuck at McDonald's or Burger King, any fast food restaurant, basically the rest of their lives. Like the high school, like the school district and NIU, I always hear this thing about we're not just gonna hire blacks because we need more black teachers. We want the most qualified. So then my question is, what the hell is your qualifications? You know, and are they the same as everybody else's? You know, do we have to have special? Because for a while at the school district, you had to be an Apple Scholar if you was black. And if you were Apple Scholar, then they would look at you. But eventually, it would seem like they would come out and say that they found somebody better, or you weren't completely qualified or something. But it never worked. And when they hired 14 at one time, 14 minorities, underrepresented, I hate to say minorities, people from underrepresented groups, they had Latinos and African Americans. They hired 14 within a year, it was only 2 left. And one incident to let you know just what really happened, we thought just hiring was gonna be good, but when you have a situation where you put these newly hires in a situation like when one of the young ladies went to the teacher's lounge in the middle school, all the white teachers moved to the other part of the lunchroom. And so she probably left in the next 3 months. But that was her thing. She was trying to get out of it because it happened every time she went there, so she stopped going. She would just sit in her classroom and bring her lunch because they wouldn't cater to her and, you know, just hang out with her as being a fellow staff member. And so we found a problem with that. We found a problem with a brother and a young lady. They were married. One of them was a math teacher and a science teacher, and the other was a gym teacher. And the math teacher, he had this little group of girls who had been the little popular girls in the school, privileged people in the community. And so they would like to play in his class and do things. He told them he was gonna fail all of them if they didn't do their work. So they went home and told their moms called the principal. The principal took them out to class and put them in the classroom next to the black teacher So they would come to their class and he'd be right next door and they harass him, time. We told you weren't going to fail us, that we'd get out your class. And now we ain't going to do nothing. You say you don't have no power and all kind of things. So at the end of the year, him and his wife moved to Texas and took up other jobs. So it's not a thing just about getting them in. We got to make the places comfortable for them to be. So it's got to be a lot of sensitivity training, cultural sensitivity training. It's got to be a lot of things now. And the high school used to be, the district used to be at a point where it was the mandatory that you had cultural sensitivity training, multicultural training. Now it's voluntary. So you're really preaching to the choir. Those that are sympathetic towards black needs and education, the sympathizers be there. So it's like singing to the choir. And the people that really need it, that have racist motives, they'll never come to anything like that if they're not forced to come. And when they're forced to come, they come and they raise hell. So it's up to the district to try to find a way to meet them in the middle and make them conform to what they're saying. If you have to tell them that if they don't do what they need to do, they have to find another job, that we're not having that. And I think that's what Chief Grady did, the black police chief here at Northern Illinois University, and he ended up with the most diverse police force in the nation. So I know it could be done, but it's just like who's doing it and what they're really looking for and what they really want.
Is there anything that you wish I had asked you?
No, I think you covered everything. It's up to the school, Do they have to change the way that they're recruiting faculty of color? They have to write down an expectation and a goal that's that you can reach, not something that's just so far out of reach that it's just ridiculous that you would even say something like that, because no way that they could do that. And so it's like you setting them up for failure. And I think that's has been the problem all the time, that the teachers that come here are mostly set up for failure. And so we had to find a better way of recruiting. And that's why if they even find somebody that want to come here, once they come, it's like, can we keep them? Because we don't have anything set up for the people that's been here that'll make you say, yes, I'm from DeKalb, I'm from NIU, I love NIU. And we used to have, about 10 years ago, when the enrollment was 25,000, when it was great to be at NIU. And then a lot of those people retired and went about their ways or left for another job. And the people that took their place just didn't have that energy and that spirit that they had. So now you go to, say, a job, recruitment fair, and you're sitting there and it's just like orientation. Yep, this is our programs. It should be excitable. People just run out, come here, come on this table. This is what we can do to you. Even for me, I used to tell them, you got to send your kid here. I guarantee you, they're going to get everything they need to be successful. And the only way that they're unsuccessful is because they didn't do what I say do. I say, I got the map, I got the blueprint. And all you have to do is follow the blueprint and it worked. And that's because I had resources in every department, everywhere. We was all working together. Now, you go to those different departments and you get turned down so quick, they don't even know me. And so it's a whole new generation of people, and those people aren't into people. I don't know if it's the computer people or what that lack the social skills, but they don't really feel good and excited about being able to be in the staff or a faculty member at NIU. And so that's causing the problem in our lack of population explosion. And we've been on the downside for a while, and most of that is because we're not recruiting like we used to recruit, man. We just don't have that energy. And I think if we could get that energy back, get people that's happy to be here, and that comes from the top. If the president has an environment or atmosphere conducive for that kind of creating that kind of behavior from the staff and the faculty, then we could do something. And I think that's what we should look at more so than putting it on the students, because they only react to how we present. And if we present a negative way, they're gonna take it a negative way. Right now, Illinois State is the only school in the state public institution that's has a rise in enrollment. And it's funny because the majority of people that left Northern for another job, most of them went to ISU. So we just need to get back into understanding that's a spirit that we bring to people and not a dorm like New Dorm. So we had to tear down another dorm because we want to make the landscape look good. It don't have anything to do with materials. It's in the heart. It's in your spirit. And we need to understand that, because when we went in and everybody's happy on campus, what do we say? What did we say? We have that Husky spirit, you know? But now it's not there, man. Football team don't have the same spirit. They winning, but it's the way they winning. It's not a high spirit win like NIU. And that was my whole claim to fame, talking about NIU football. Because we put ourselves on top of the maps as far as Illinois and schools. We even outdid U of I. But now, population, man, and with the change in population, that might be a problem too. Because with the population changing to more students of color, we still got everything set up for middle-class white students. And so what you tell and set up and have resources for middle-class white students might not be what a Latino or Latina from Humboldt Park needs, or a brother or sister from the south side of Chicago. They might need something else, man. It might be a little more mentoring, a little more love for them, a little more, just a little more understanding and showing that we care about you, where I can trust you to the point where I can tell you things and it'll make things better for me, because now I've gotten all those things out of me and it makes me a better person.
My name is Shakira Smith, and I am currently a graduate student for the Adult and Higher Education program, and I'm also a graduate assistant for the Department of Curriculum and Instruction.
Okay. Why did you choose to come to NIU?
Well, I did both my grad and my undergrad at NIU. I chose NIU honestly for undergrad because of the location. It wasn't too far from home, and it wasn't too close. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and the reason why I chose NIU is for my graduate program, because I always knew I wanted to work with the student body in higher education. I knew I didn't want to teach, so adult and higher education will prepare me to be able to work with students, student affairs, different offices, and things like that.
Okay. When you came here, did you feel left out or something?
I did a little bit. I didn't really come to NIU with any friends or anything like that. Me being a first generation college student, I was kind of lost. My family was very supportive, but they didn't, complete college. So it was like the lack of resources and things like that I was kind of unaware of. But eventually I became acquainted with the university, and then everything went well.
So you're a first generation college student?
Yep.
How many black professors have you had at NIU?
Outside of me taking Black Studies courses, I've had one African American professor.
Do you think that's a problem, or?
I do think it's a problem. I think it's a problem because, especially the underrepresented, underserved students in higher education, most of us, we kind of cling to who we feel like can relate to us as far as our identity, the different struggles and things that we faced and encounter in higher education. So I feel like us not having a lot of different professors that identify as the same identity as we do, we kind of do not feel like we can relate to our professors that much. And I'm going to use the example of like Black Studies courses and how those professors, like we literally can talk to them about anything in our personal life, academically. They're going to be there for us, and then they tell us like things that they encountered while they was in college. So I think it's all about just feeling like we have professors that can identify with us and the things that we went through.
So I've kind of already asked you this, but is it important to have a Black professor in the classroom?
Yeah.
How do you feel like the disproportionate amount of Black professors affected your education?
I don't feel like it personally had an effect on my education. Me personally, I took Black Studies courses. It wasn't never a requirement for my major, but I took those courses so I could learn more about my identity and my history, because I felt like it wasn't being taught to me in the required courses that I had to take, like for my major. So to get that understanding, get that knowledge, I took Black Studies courses.
Would you be more comfortable with a Black professor than with a professor from another race?
Yes, yes. It just kind of goes back to just understanding more about their students, understanding different privileges and things that we have, and different things that come up in the African American community. I feel like with Black Lives Matter, for example, Black Studies courses, when things that are relevant on campus are occurring, they speak on those issues. But I feel as though other professors who may not identify as being African American is never brought up. And those are issues that are affecting us and affecting our education. So it's something that I do feel like should be discussed. So I feel like sometimes I might be getting cheated out of different knowledge from professors who may not have the same identity as I do.
Did you have a lot of Black teachers in Chicago?
Yes. So like my elementary school and my high school was on the south side of Chicago, so majority of my teachers were African American.
Okay, so why do you think it is that there's so many Black teachers that you had growing up, and then when you come out to NIU, there's such a massive drop off in the amount of Black teachers?
I really feel like it's the institution. Like NIU is a predominantly white college, so me kind of going into the situation, I didn't expect like all my classes to have African American professors, but I did expect them to have more than what I've had.
Have you ever used like the Black Student Union or anything like that?
Yeah, Black Student Union, and it's a lot of different, like I'm a part of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and we are historically Black sorority, so I use the different resources within my organization as well.
What did you do in there?
Within my organization?
Yeah.
I served as the president, I served as the financial secretary, the public relations chair, and we go to different like regionals and like conferences and things like that, and even within the history of why Black Greek letter organizations were founded, it's like a part of my history and the historical context to it.
Okay. This is kind of the same question as before, but what does the low number of Black faculty mean to students in general, do you think?
I just feel like students always have that lingering question, like, why haven't I had any Black professors? Why do I have to take Black Studies courses just for my professor to be African American?
What do you think about the community, like DeKalb? Do you think DeKalb does enough?
DeKalb, no. NIU, yes. I feel like NIU being a part of DeKalb, I think is very like separated. I feel like it's literally DeKalb and the NIU community, and I feel like it's never really like combined with one another.
I noticed you have a bunch of awards out there.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little about it?
So I have my degree in family and child studies, which I received in 2017. I have my certificate for Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I have a Miss Black President certificate. I have a couple of Honor Society certificates and a couple of trophies.
So, what's like your favorite achievement from all those?
My favorite achievement, honestly, is being a part of like my sorority. Like just the networking, the sisterhood that we have towards one another, the impact that we've had on students through our programs, events that we throw on campus. How I was able to serve as a resource to students being a part of that organization. So I just love the fact that students just feel like they could come talk to us about anything, any struggles, any issues that they're having. Like they feel that connection, that they could come talk to us about anything. And I always said when I came to college, if I can have an impact on at least one student, like that's a big achievement for me. And just to have so many girls always like saying these good things about us, how you guys have helped us through so much, and just to be there for them, like that's just amazing to me.
And what's your favorite story specifically?
That's hard. It's hard to pick just one. I'm really big on academics, as you could kind of see by my awards, and girls, I bring them to the library with me. And I had a girl who told me, like, we both made the dean's list the same semester, and she was like, "Thank you so much, Shakira. I feel like your motivation, your drive, like it just really helped me want to do better academically." She was never like failing or anything, but sometimes I do think you need that push, like that you can do it and you can achieve whatever it is that you need to achieve. So I always get thanks for that, because like I'm really big on grades. Like I feel like we came to college for a reason. We're here. Let's make the best out of this situation. Let's get these good grades so we can accomplish whatever we need to accomplish while we're here.
If you could change anything at NIU, what would you change?
I feel like the support that we have from faculty members and staff on campus, when different things in the world are happening, when it affects the campus, you see the same people there. You see Dr. Guy, you see Mr. Smith, you see Don. Like those are the people. Don doesn't work here anymore, but those are like the people that you will always see. Where's the other faculty members? And like I stated before, it doesn't take you to be African American for certain things to affect you. Like with the Black Lives Matter movement, it wasn't just African Americans that was a part of the movement that we were doing on campus.
What recent events, like in the past, let's say day, say like the trial, how does that affect you?
I mean, me identifying as an African American, I just wanted justice to be served as well as my other peers. When events like this happen, I feel like it honestly does. It brings the Black community together. Like it brings us closer together, and I like to see us all on one accord. Of course, we're not perfect. Everyone is not going to be like the best of friends. But when issues like this occur, I think we are adult enough. We put our differences aside and we stand up for what we believe in.
Have you ever been to Betty Jean's Soul Food?
No, I haven't.
It's a great place. Do you have any questions?
Question I could think of. What do you think NIU has done to bring in more African American professors?
I don't know. That's a hard question to answer. Recruitment, I don't really think is really geared towards African American students. The Chance program, I think they do a really good job with promoting African American students and just giving those who may not have the requirements to attend higher education to give us a chance and an opportunity. I was a Chance student, and just give us a chance to attend college. So I think they do a really good job at recruitment, but I really don't think the university, like kind of as a whole, they can do a little better with that.
Do you know what percentage of African American students go here to NIU?
No.
The percentage is 17%. And do you know the percentage of Black faculty we have?
No.
It's around 1 to 2%.
Wow.
How does that make you feel personally?
It's just, I don't know, it's sad. Like, I mean, it's not really much I can say, but it just kind of like, what is this institution not doing that's not attracting other minority students? So that's just the lingering question that I have. And with those statistics, the university is something that they need to figure out, like, what are we doing wrong where we're not attracting a wide population of students?
It's kind of like that.
Okay, I just got a couple more I want to just go through. You might not know the answers to these. Okay, well, this one's maybe weird. Do you think you are treated differently by faculty members or other students?
I don't think I'm treated differently per se, but I do feel like the stereotypes about African Americans, I have to try harder to not, I don't want to say like to not achieve those stereotypes, but like, for example, this angry black woman stereotype that they have about African American women. So when I was in certain classes and maybe I didn't agree with what was going on, I just tried my hardest just not to be that typical angry black woman. So I guess I try hard not to have those negative stereotypes about African Americans portrayed towards me.
What? That's a bad question. What could be done to encourage more black students or professors to come to NIU?
To come to NIU, I feel like it would have to start from faculty and staff because those are the first people that these students meet when they're thinking about coming to NIU. I think more, I've been on plenty of orientation tours, and I think more needs to be said maybe about the different cultural centers that we have on campus and the different events that minority students like host. The orientation maybe needs to be changed up a little bit. I feel like trans students are the only ones that get like kind of a taste of what the African American community is at NIU. I feel like just a regular orientation, I don't think you really get that. So I feel like definitely orientation should maybe be structured a little bit more where they can see like the diversity within the campus.
Okay. That's it. I
Okay.
got nothing more for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, what's your name?
My name is Marcus Smith. I'm a senior studying rehab and disability services with a targeted graduation date of May 2020.
What is your position here at NIU?
My position here at NIU is I serve as the current president of the Black Student Union.
How do you feel about African American professors in general?
In general, I love the current professors we have now, specifically Derek Smith. He's the first black professor I had here at NIU. He opened my mind to a lot of insight and the importance of having a black consciousness here on a predominantly white institution.
How many black professors have you had in total from your years being here at NIU?
Ironically, Mr. Smith was the only one.
The only one. And how many years have you been here?
I've been here for 4 years now. And that's because I had to go out my way to take a black studies class that's not my major just to get a black professor.
And how does that make you feel?
That makes me feel like we are underrepresented. I feel like in my department, Health and Human Sciences, there should definitely be more black professors. There's a lot more people that are certified to do the job. Considering that we make up 17% of the student body population, I feel like it needs to be 17% of black faculty and staff to represent us.
That leads to a great segue to my next question. You said that you know there's 17% of African American students here at NIU. You know the percentage of African American professors here at NIU?
I believe it's no. If I had to guess, I would think it's 1% or under that.
We are not wrong.
We're not even 1%.
We are 0.3. And how does that make you feel?
Not even 0.9?
0.3%.
Wow, that's a big issue. And that needs to change because Northern Illinois, they push diversity, equity, and inclusion, but I feel like it's fake. It's put on the show. You know, it's not necessarily real because if they pushing that, it shouldn't just be in Black Studies or the Center for Black Studies where we are now. It should be in other departments as well.
Well, that's all the questions we have to ask you. Thank you for your time.
All right, wait, final remarks. I believe that this can happen, but we have to be the change we want to see. So we can strategically think about what we want to do, and I expect great things.
Please state your name and what you do here at NIU.
Hey, my name is Jessica Walker, and I'm a psychology major, graduating senior in May 2019.
And I just want to ask you a couple of questions. That'd be fine.
Yep.
All right. How many African American professors have you had here at NIU?
I have had one, and that was for communications class, a 100 level class.
And how does that make you feel personally?
It's kind of sad because we don't, especially since it's a lower level class, and it's like the fact that I only had one my entire like college experience. It's kind of disappointing. The fact that I don't have like examples of like some influential like professors that are people of color or even black. So that's kind of it's sad for me.
So, do you know the percentage of Black students here at NIU?
I don't know, but if I were to guess, I would say 15 to 20% maybe.
Just my remark is 17%.
Oh, okay.
Now, what do you think the percentage is for Black faculty here?
Definitely a lot lower, probably. I'm gonna go with 3%, 4%.
Unfortunately, it's around 0.3%.
Oh my God, they're not even a full person. Oh my gosh,
And how does that make you feel?
that's very sad. Like, because the fact that I didn't even think that was that low, it's very unfortunate. Especially since we have a 20% or 17% of Black students, there should be some type of representation of those people. And I think that's across all boards of anything. There always should be a representation of like a ratio to how many people of the certain races they have at the school.
That's all we want to ask you today.
Okay,
Thank you for it.
no problem.
Hello.
Hi,
Please state your name and what you do here.
my name is Rhea Vaughn. I am a junior Spanish education major, Black Studies minor, expected graduation date December 2020. I work at the Center for Black Studies as a desk assistant, and I work at Academic Diversity, Equity, Inclusion as a student intern.
So, being at NIU, how many African American professors have you had throughout your whole college career?
Excluding Black Studies,
Yes, excluding Black. Well, no, actually, yeah, you can include Black studies.
so in Black Studies, I've taken, I think this is my 5th course. So I've had 5 Black Studies instructors, but outside of that, I have not had any. Actually, no, I've had 1.
One.
Yes.
And how does that make you feel?
It's kind of like an equity and inclusion imbalance, just because, you know, you feel more comfortable with someone that looks like you, or like if you're in, I mean, I'm a Spanish major, so I wouldn't expect to see many people that look like me, but just to be in a math lecture or an English course and have someone of color just to increase the ratios, especially because I believe the percentage of African American students is like 17 or 18%. 17% of the university, so there's like a ratio imbalance. So it kind of makes me feel like if we don't have black instructors, why do we have black students? If that's kind of broad, but from the outside looking in, it's like there's no teacher or instructor to student ratio.
All right. Speaking of the percentage of African American students, do you know the percentage of African American faculty here at NIU?
I think it's 3%.
3.
Am I wrong?
Yeah.
It's lower?
Point.
Oh, wow. 0.3. Well, I could see that.
And how does that make you feel, knowing that?
Well, I think that there are two issues with that. A lot of students don't know the difference between like faculty and full-time staff. Like those are two different positions. So we just assume that if someone works here that they're faculty, but they're not. So that kind of deals with those numbers, and it makes me feel slightly discouraged because there should be more individuals of color in higher education in general. But then for the number of students to be so high and the faculty number to be literally not even 1%, it's very problematic.
These are all the questions we have for you today.
Okay,
Thank you for your time.
you're welcome. Thanks for having me.